of a company, the journey of how it went through. Now, if you look at this from a point of view of right from a manual financial reporting, which is like pre-digital, which I've called it, and a reactive mechanism or desperate. It tends to happen that many small companies, what tends to happen is that, the chartered accountant will call up on July 30th and tell, sir, you have to file returns. Or on a time when they need to file their MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs returns, at that time they're looking at the financials. It's a very desperate reactive measure which comes out, right? So that's manual bookkeeping. What evolves to the next is something where you have some sort of an invoicing system. Collections are important. So you sort out that particular element. You might have an accounting package and a lot from an Excel point of view. Most of the things which happen is on Excel. That's the beginning stage of siloed digital efforts. The evolution of financial reporting grows along with how the company grows. And they will start with an ERP, they'll do basic analysis, and most of this run on Excel. If you look at the next one, from an advanced stage, this is the beauty where beginning of automation starts. If you look at the characteristics, if you look at that, there's ERP, there's integrated applications. What do you mean by integrated applications? You might have a CRM software which is talking to your ERP system. You might have an HR software which is talking to your ERP system. You might have, let's say, something like a marketing system which will talking to your ERP system. All of this builds around your ERP system with integrated applications. Standard reporting. The reports are more standard. There is efficient book close which happens. Management reports are generated out. And then finally, there is the intermediate level of analysis which happens. This is a stage where about 10% of companies are there. Then if you look at the gold standard, which is about 5% of companies, if you look at ERP, still becomes one of the most important element, which in reality is being questioned in today's world. Do you need an ERP? But let's say ERP is a base for all of the application. Robotic process automation. This is like a bot. It's a software, a bot which will do the process automation for companies. And that's literally becoming digital workers. They do the processing of data and they're able to turn out a much more faster, more efficient mechanism in which reporting can happen. Let's go to the next one, the finance of the 21st century. So financial reporting is the story of accounts, and that's the last bit of it which comes out in terms of, let's say, your Schedule 3, your P&L, your balance sheet. How does the finance of 21st century look like? First one, there is people. It's a combination of people, process, and technology. From a people perspective, there is evolving skill sets. It's just not about accounts anymore. There's evolving skill set. There's a dynamic operating model which comes out, and collaborative performance. In order to get to a proper financial reporting, it's just not important from the finance department. It is a collaborative effort from all departments within an organization. And that's what a collaborative performance is. We look in this more in depth. Let's look at process. Process is often something which is forgotten in terms when what happens is technology often takes a lot of space, right? But process is very, very critical. Having a streamlined process focused on continuous improvement and from a simplified systems and data. Simplifying systems and data will always help in terms of building the process further. And the last one is RP or digital workers. These are very interesting concepts which are there where, the AI bot can do activities which are there. That's a robotic process automation or digital workers. Let's look at in depth for each of them, starting with people. So, evolving skill set. Do you need to know finance for financial reporting? Yes, I think that is like the basic which is required, right? You need to know basics of finance. Apart from that, in today's world, what is the additional skill set which you need to know? One is on strategic thinking, data literacy. Data literacy in terms of understanding what is the data talking about, how you are able to comprehend the data, right? Apart from this, creativity, interesting. Did you ever think that financial reporting would require, or finance department requires creativity? It's a very important skill for today because the next one is the visual storytelling. Imagine I was telling you the story, accounts the storybook of a business. Tell that beautifully. And that's where a creativity and a visual storytelling helps as skills. Additionally, agility and problem solving. In the last speaker, Anthony came on board and he was talking about very important skill sets of critical thinking, of problem solving. That is important from a point of view of the finance department. Right. Let's go to the next one, a dynamic operating model. Today, we are in Bangalore, which is the hub of outsourcing for India. If you look at, there was this sort of a meme which was running around telling when we got independence, they knew that we are going to be serving for the world, and that's why at the strike of midnight, the India awakens to the world, right? So that is where the outsourcing model or nearshore model which is there. And gig economy along with consultants becomes a very dynamic environment which is built in. Companies are operating at multiple different models to get the right mix of model. Right. The next one is on a collaborative performance, which includes a cross-functional expertise, effective communication, risk identification, risk mitigation, knowledge sharing. Let's go back. And let's go to process. I'm just going to allow you to read all of this. Simplify systems and data allows you to do a simplification of data, of systems, re-engineering the entire data, also looking at building better solutions, improving efficiency, and enhancing accuracy. Continuous improvement, you can read this. And finally, streamline process. Process as a part of financial reporting or finance on a larger perspective is important to make sure that the processes are working fine and it becomes a more efficient mechanism. Right. Finally, let's go to technology, which talks about first one, we're talking about the RPA digital workers. How do they bring in the benefits for a company? One, in terms of scalability, one, bringing the accuracy and efficiency. They're much more accurate and efficient. Second one, or the third one in that sense, is cost savings. There's a clear audit trail for the activities which a digital worker on RPA does, which enables it become more efficient and better in terms of auditing. Widen the usage of AI/ML. Today, the AI/ML is being used for multiple areas, like, for example, anomaly detection, to detect if there is a fraud which happens. Like, for example, Uber, when they had released their promotion codes, they had an AI or a machine learning model wherein it was detecting whether people were claiming too many offers, whether the drivers were claiming too much of incentives. That was the usage of AI and ML. And that is becoming widening towards the finance department. The last one, advanced analytics, it includes not just your diagnostic analytics, it also includes how you can forecast it, what is the prescriptive analytics next to it. How do you do risk management? Analytics can help with risk management, identifying the risks much early in time. Financial monitoring, operational efficiency, and one important thing is FP&A. So with that, this is the finance of the 21st century. It includes people, process, and technology. So how does the finance transformation journey look like? The two parts, one is the value creation and a maturity. It starts with basics. You need to know basics about it, basics of your reporting in terms of timely, accurate reporting. There should be effective communication. This is in terms of the basic accounting which is there. The next step towards is improve acumen. What tends to happen is finance becomes a department which is sort of disconnected from the business. And you're writing the story of the business. So you need to know what is the business acumen, understand the business better, understand what is the products which is working on, what is the services which are there, understand the business, how does the business tie everything together. As a finance person, it's very important to improve the business acumen. The next step is from a business intelligence point of view. Once you understand the business, you can influence the business with your insights. Look at from a point of view of, hey, you know what, look at, you have the P&L account with you, analyze it at a product level, advise the ones who are doing sales and marketing. Let's focus on this product, let's focus on this service, because we've got better returns out of it. That's where intelligence comes into place. How do you do this? You have a continuous monitor of KPIs. The next thing, and probably the most important element, the next step is a strategic leader. Today's CFOs are not just expected to close books, submit the returns, submit GST, submit income tax returns. No, not just that. They have to be a more strategic leader. And that allows you to look at the second point, which is drive the company performance. And that's very important to look at from a digital transformation or a finance transformation model. What is the other new age reporting? I'm just going to go this faster in terms of the ESG, environmental, social, and governance reporting. From an environmental factors, you have climate change, emissions, energy usage, and also from a point of view, what is the environmental impact of the company. And from a social perspective, you have diversity and inclusion, health, safety, and health and safety measures which are there. One important element which comes as part of this is data security. Of late, there has been an increase with regard to where top 1,000 listed companies in India have to start reporting on the ESG requirements. And then we have finally the governance, which is on investor relationships, transparent accounting method, whistleblower policy. This next one, which is a very interesting one, which is coming with intermediary funding. Of late, there has been a lack of clarity in terms of how the funds are being used or received. And that's where loans or funds which have been received, are they going into the right direction? Are they going into the intended purpose? And that's where intermediary funding comes into place. Ultimate beneficiary. Another important element which comes out from today's reporting is to identify who is the ultimate beneficiary of loans, investments which come out. And finally, my favorite, internal controls. Internal controls has always been part of financial reporting, and that's been the crux of any audit which has been conducted. And they will help in terms of making sure the reporting is done in a proper manner. Let me go to the key takeaways, the last particular one. What are the key takeaways from the finance department of 21st century? First and foremost is, it's a journey of people, process, and technology. All three are important, but people comes first. When you have the people with the right skill set, when you have the set processes, then you bring in the right technology. Often people go in the other direction. People first look at technology, then process, and then last people. But please remember, the biggest takeaway from today's finance department is from having people, process, and technology. Continuous improvement and innovation. This is, if you look at from the previous, the previous speaker was talking about the new skills which are required for in today's world. One of the important thing is always look at a continuous improvement, continuous innovation. Keep an open mind towards things. And finally, keep updated. It's very important for you to look at new technologies, explore, use them, learn and relearn them. That's it from my side, and I'm open to any questions. I think time's up. I'm still here around. If you have any doubts on finance, on analytics, please reach out to me during the conference. I'm there for all of it. Right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that captivating talk. For our next session, we have with us Mr. Shivakumar. Mr. Shivakumar is a seasoned data science manager adept at driving data-enabled strategies and aligning data science projects with broader business goals. Holding a PG diploma in data science from IIT Bombay and a bachelor's degree in engineering, Sir's educational background complements their expertise in the dynamic field of data science. Passionate about data-driven discovery and innovation, Mr. Shivakumar thrives on exploring intricate data sets to unearth meaningful patterns and insights. Sir takes pride in nurturing talent within their team, fostering a collaborative culture that encourages knowledge sharing and individual growth. His commitment to excellence drives their team towards data-driven success, making impactful decisions and delivering valuable insights to propel organizational growth. Now I request Sir to take over the session.
Good afternoon. Check. On. Hello. Yeah. Am I audible? Yeah. So thank you for that wonderful introductory speech. So would you guys believe that this speech was generated by an AI? The one which you heard for me, Anto, and for other speakers as well. Would you guys believe it or not? Would you guys believe it? Yes. So would you guys have you thought that 2 or 3 years back that we would use AI to generate introduction speeches or music or art or any sort of that thing? Have you thought or have you heard anywhere 2 or 3 years back? No, right? So today we are going to talk about generative AI, which is an emerging field, which you might have been hearing from the last 7-8 months. Have you guys heard or not generative AI? Have you guys heard? From when did you start hearing? After what? ChatGPT. So so ChatGPT is one of the techniques in generative AI which is becoming very popular now. And I know you guys are all from commerce background, but you might be thinking, why generative AI for us? Why a technical knowledge for us? And I will answer this at the end of the session. So before moving to that, in order to explain in a non-technical terms for you guys, ChatGPT, generative AI is a subset of AI that focuses on creating content rather than you might have heard AIs where it was used for classifying objects or image detection problems previously. But instead of identifying or classifying, here we are using AI to create content on its own from the sample data what we have on the training data. And as I told, ChatGPT or generative AI, it works on predefined. Conventional AI works on predefined patterns, whereas generative AI models learn from large data sets to generate novel and realistic content. So, in order to create content, we are not going on a predefined pattern on anything. We are using large data sets. You know how much data was used for ChatGPT to generate the text which it is generating now? It's around somewhere around 45 million text conversations. So that is the data set size which we are talking about. So as I told, there are several AI techniques which we use. One of them is generative adversarial networks, GANs. So here there will be two networks in the GANs. One is a generator and a discriminator, and they compete against each other to produce high quality content. And the second one is variational autoencoders. Here we encode and decode the data points, and we try to generate data points by sampling from that space. And the next one is language models. As I was saying, it might be ChatGPT or Google Bard or Perplexity as well. So now let's look at a few of the applications. These are not related to analytics or anything. These are general applications of generative AI. The first one is intelligent virtual assistants. So you might have heard that you can take ChatGPT help or Google Bard help to schedule your day. If you give some suggestions, if you give what all the things you need to do, it can schedule your day. And the next is language translation. As they are language models, they are very good at understanding the context and and it can remember what the context was in the previous chat as well. So they can perform the language translation as well. And the next one is writing support. I guess you guys might have used, right? If you have got an assignment and there is a question, you might have gone and asked ChatGPT to give you the answer. Has anyone done it or not? Yes. So yeah, this is one of the applications. Another one is personalized content generation. I guess most of you guys have seen memes where like after ChatGPT, the content creators will be gone, and it might create contents where you might not need other content creators as well. The next one is interactive learning. So you can use generative AIs to learn new technologies or skills in an interactive format. And also you can use generative AI for brainstorming and idea generation. So you can ask queries related to what you are trying to solve, and you can give a few context related to that, and it can help you in brainstorming and idea generation. The next one is entertainment and storytelling. I guess all of you would have tried give me a story on a thriller segment or comedy segment. All of you might have tried it using ChatGPT. So now let's look at some applications where we use on a daily basis in our company. So the first one is we will be asking to write emails. So the first one is write me a lie for not attending a meeting in the form of a poem. So this is what ChatGPT came up with. I will have to miss the meeting today. My apologies, I cannot stay. I wish I could give a valid reason, but alas, my mind is out of season. And the next one is we are working on a technical tools, and we will be writing codes, and we have to debug it. So before the use of ChatGPT, we used to go on Google, search the query, and we used to look at lot of Stack Overflow and those kind of things. And it would take us 2-3 hours to do that. And we would always get errors as well. And it would take us again 2 to 6 hours to solve it. So after ChatGPT, we will get the code in like 5 minutes. But I guess if you have used it in a technical tool, you would have understand most of the times it will give you good results, but sometimes it will give you codes which might take forever for you to debug the code. And as coming to the applications in real world, which is related to analytics, the first one is data synthesis. Data synthesis in terms of analytics will be like generating synthetic data, where in terms of financial transactions, you will be having legitimate transactions and fraud transactions. But how do you think will be the percentage of each? So if there are 95% of legal transactions, there would be 5 to 10% of fraudulent transactions. So you see, for an AI model, you should provide equal number of transactions, and it will say I'm 90% accurate. So we cannot believe that, right? We will be having few fraud transactions which will be going, and we'll be having losses in it. So that is one case where we can use generative AI to synthesize the fraudulent data. So this will help us in generating a balanced data set, which helps in identifying more fraud transactions and helps in reducing false positives. So you might have done a transactions where the bank calls you and tell that we identified it as a fraud transaction. So we can solve those kind of issues also. And whenever a new pattern comes in the fraud transactions, we will also be able to capture it. And again, in the financial transactions, why don't we not just synthesize the data? We will take it one step ahead, and we will try to detect it. So this is done by identifying these unusual patterns which we find in the fraudulent transactions. And again, the benefits are the same as I told in the previous slide. And the next one is predictive analytics. I hope you guys have heard of predictive analytics, right? So can any one of you tell me what is predictive analytics? Or where would you use it? Anyone?
Sir.
Sorry? Yeah, so in Amazon, they might predict what will be the sales for any product or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So this can be used in a retail chain where you might need to optimize your inventory and supply chain operations. You will have prediction. You will predict about the future, wherein like you can use a generative AI model to predict how is going to be my demand for a particular product. And we can use the benefits of using generative AI model will be, again, as I told, we can store whatever is needed, whatever is in demand, and we can, by this, we will have, we will deliver things which are required to the customers, and we will save cost, and we can increase the profits using generative AI in predictive analytics. And the next thing is similar to predictive analytics, instead of predicting based on several other factors, we will be forecasting on the historical data and the trends which we have seen before. So to take an example, in case of energy demand and forecasting, we can use this to forecast what is going to be my demand in energy, and we can do this by giving historical data to the generative AI models, and then forecasting from the generative AI model. The benefits of using this will be we can optimize the grid where we produce the electricity. There will be stability in it, and we can save the cost again here. And one of the use cases of generative AI is, which we have done in our company, is forensic analysis of email auditing. To just give you a brief idea about it, we will have emails which we are going to audit. There will be two kinds of analysis which we do. One is sentiment analysis, and the other one is keyword analysis. So based on the sentiment score, we will, if it is a negative score, we will assign it as a high risk email, and if the presence of keyword is there, we will assign it as a high risk email. And after this, there will be a manual review of these high risk emails. So the one of the drawbacks of doing this, it will take a lot of time to run the sentiment analysis and keyword analysis, and again, one person has to do the manual review on it. So we can use generative AI in this field, where this ChatGPT model, it's not just for generating text. It can be fine-tuned to any application related to natural language, which we can fine-tune it to run sentiment analysis, and we can query the database. We can search for the keywords using the generative model, and we can use it to summarize what is this bunch of emails is telling. That kind of thing we can do in generative AI. So right now we have seen all the things which ChatGPT can do. But before developing any generative AI technique, we have to also look at the ethical consideration of it. So the first one is misinformation and bias. So since the model is trained on a training data, there might be bias in the training data, right? So we might face, again, if the bias is present in the training data, it will be in the output as well. And you might have also seen sometimes ChatGPT producing wrong information as well. So we have to take into that consideration as well. And the next one is privacy and data security. So before, it might give you some sensitive information about a person or a company. So we have to take into consideration the data privacy and security as well. And the next one is potential misuse. I guess you might have seen few artists who are complaining that they are using their artistic copyrighted content to produce AI content. So this is one of the considerations which we have to take into. And accountability and transparency. As I said, copyright issue might come in, and since it's an AI model, it will be like a black box. We will not know how content is being generated or not. Next is, obviously, even though you feel it might be something which is going to revolutionize, there are limitations of it. The first one is data dependency. As I said previously, the amount of data required to train a generative AI model is very huge. So the data dependency is always a limitation in this case, and overfitting and memorizations. So it might always replicate a similar kind of content. If you go and ask ChatGPT to write me a joke, it might give you 3-4 jokes, and it might replicate the same again and again after doing that. And the next one is